Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Glassix Spotlight, your favorite chill spot for all the juicy deeds on customer experience. Today, we're gearing up for an episode that is truly special. In a world where it's easy to get lost in the digital crowd, we've got someone with us who's been mastering the art of real, genuine connection for over 2 decades. Yep, you guessed it right. We're hanging out with none other than Stacy Sherman. Stacy's not just in the CX game, she's rewriting the rules with her unique hard and science approach. She's been the brains behind the scenes at big names like Liveops, Verizon, and AT&T, but that's just scratching the surface. Stacy's known for turning the theoretical into the practical, making sure companies aren't just paying lip service to customer experience but really living it. And talk about accolades. Stacy's been racking them up like it's nobody's business. From winning the W3 awards for her podcast for being recognized as a top international leader in CX, she's got a cred for that makes you want to sit up and listen. So before we dive in, do yourself a favor and check out Stacy's website, Doing CX Right. It's a goldmine of CX leadership insights. And if you want to know more about CX in general and other accolades Stacy's been up to, check out our latest LinkedIn course about increase customer loyalty by doing agent experience right. But before all of that, I want us to all give a huge Glassix spotlight welcome to Stacy Sherman. Stacy, we're super stoked to have you here today.
Thank you. Very glad to be here.
Great. So, Stacy, before we jump into the cool stuff you've been up to, is there anything fresh off the press or any new adventures you're diving into that you'd like to share with us today?
Oh, thank you for that. So, the LinkedIn Learning course just released last month. So, that's a big one for people in the contact center space and anybody who's leading a workforce who needs to stop attrition and really learn how do you keep them empowered and engaged to deliver customer excellence. Aside from that, and some masterminds I'm doing around that course, I have a book that's going to come out this year around customer journey management, different than journey mapping, but really journey management. And I have another course for LinkedIn that's coming out as well, and it's in production now around how do you actually improve communication within organizations, because that is a number one pain point for customers. And so how do you break that pain and cycle?
You got me all excited now.
Thank
So
you.
a lot to look for, and I'll be keeping my on it for sure. For our listeners, today's episode called Heart and Science of CX, Stacy Sherman's Blueprint for Authentic Customer Connections. Stacy, let's jump right in and talk about your heart and science framework. I know it's a unique blend of empathy and analytics and CX. Can you share how this approach not only differentiates brands but also creates like lasting customer relationships?
Yes. So I'm all about that loyalty, stopping abandonment. I care about that personally from my childhood, and I care about that as a profession. And it's in our control, that loyalty, that commitment. So that's really the framework, which is really combining the heart of business and the science, because we know that companies care about the data. And what I'm saying is, yes, care about the data. The quantitative data is so important for making decisions, but do not forget the heart. Do not forget the importance of the authentic communications and the empowerment of your workforce, the appreciation and design for that belonging. And each of the letters of heart and science have an association to what I'm talking about.
Yes, I love that. I love that you're helping companies to kind of find the right balance between the numbers and the KPIs and all those things that we all very much kind of try to be more attached to, and kind of combine it with the heart, with the empathy, with the fact that we're all people and we need to remember that in many ways.
Yes,
Um,
and yeah, and here's the thing, it's more important than ever before because we know that emerging technology is here. It's ramping up faster than we can even understand, and therefore, we need to blend the human and the robots. Otherwise, oh, this could be an episode just in itself of the impacts of that.
No, yeah, I can totally relate to what you just said about that. Especially in today's landscape, I think that we should all put the highlight on the human experience, and not just forget about it totally. But Stacy, with your extensive experience in leadership roles across major companies, how do you see the role of leadership evolving in shaping a customer-centric culture? I mean, what strategies do you recommend for driving this kind of transformation?
Yeah, let's get the basics right. So, what do I mean? Well, as a leader, and I don't care if you're in corporate or you are a small business and you have contractors working for you, virtual assistants working for you, build, small teams, big teams. This all applies, which is do not take a cookie cutter approach to leadership. My needs, your needs are different and they're constantly changing. So as a leader, you really need to understand what does that mean for the individual. And here's an example. In my course actually, in the LinkedIn course, I talk about a woman, Tressa. She's real. And she worked for me and she was a customer service agent who called customers to get feedback on the services. And she had a stroke. Now, I got to know Tressa before she was really impacted and then after. Now, she was not looking for additional income for her, her salary per se in that moment. She needed a headset because she was getting really bad headaches from the phone and she needed special equipment after her stroke. That was meaningful. My asking, "What do you need?" was meaningful. And the team support was valuable. And that's what made her stay. And so, yes, everybody wants a bigger paycheck, but don't make assumptions that that's what's going to keep your staff. You have to ask them, what do you need? Now, with that said, I also want to say that we have to own our experiences. So people like Tressa have to speak up and say, here's what I need. When you're asked, don't say, I don't need anything. No, you would have to advocate for yourself so that leaders can support you. They're not mind readers. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I love that. But I think it's also like a two-way street, right? Like you can be an amazing leader and you can always ask, what do you need? How can I help you? Out of even like, I'm not even talking about genuine care. I'm talking about being human being. um, and then you still need to have that type of collaboration from the other side, as you mentioned. And I think it's a very valuable point.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to own our experiences as customers, as colleagues, as employees, as bosses. We have to own that and be really mindful in our role in delivering service and experiences for others.
Right. And Stacy, you've been an advocate for turning CX theory in actionable practice. Can you
Yes.
discuss like a practical or particular strategy or initiative that you've implemented that significantly breached this gap and drove customer loyalty
Yes. So in my last job at a BPO, business outsourcing solutions,
process?
if people, yeah, processing. So that one job I'll highlight, for example, where there was the intentionality to have a purpose committee. And I got to lead that committee. And what that means is that there were stakeholders that we came together and really focused on the purpose of the company, which was to improve lives. And so we were very intentional to improve lives for different stakeholders, employees, the customer service agents who were independent contractors, and customers. And so putting into action, how do we improve lives for them? Come up with different actions. People own them. I could never do it myself. I'm just the leader, the orchestra of the band. And together we would come up with those actions, meet and report back what we're doing. And then here's the the game changer is measure that and ask people, including these internal teams, how well is the company delivering on its promise to improve your life? And it was a rating, just like Net Promoter Score. And that's where you really can change lives while you're earning profit.
Wow. Yeah, and they're like the answers. They were anonymously, or they were like named. Like they could tell who was, you know, who was the person that actually giving them the score, or the answers were like coming anonymously.
There were both, um,
Hmm.
gave options to people. Really, it's less about the who and it's more about what are they saying? What is the general consensus? And where are the common themes to fix? You're not going to spend your investment and resources in one offs, whether it's customer feedback or an employee. It's not going to be your one off. It's that totality view. Where are the biggest pain points that you can chip away? And there's plenty of them. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit. So that's where I encourage people to focus on your purpose, make it your mission, and don't just focus on profit, but really on your purpose because the profit comes through loyalty in that regard.
Yes, and I love that you say this because it's kind of very much related to what you're doing as a podcaster. We're talking about doing CX right, which is one of the, if not the most popular podcast in the CX realm today. And when I read the slogan, and I say too many companies do not put people first or meet their real needs. In fact,
Yeah.
leaders create unnecessary frustration and negative emotions. And I think you're very much able to kind of demonstrate that in your podcast. I'm trying to tune in regularly, and I hear that this message is not just being repetitive; it's really in the heart of everything that you do.
Thank you. I honestly show up everywhere I go with that. It's not scripted. Nothing I do is scripted. But it also comes from in the trenches. I'm
Right.
only 1 year out as an entrepreneur. I've spent the past 25 years in B2B and B2C companies leading customer experience, marketing, sales, and all that frontline work and spend time in the back office with people. I used to go on ride-alongs with technicians and when I was in the elevator industry, and I've never been a technician. I've never went to a mechanic school. So I would do ride-alongs and literally walk in those mechanic shoes and understand what is it like for them. And so the heart comes from being in the trenches, going out there and shadowing your colleagues and being your own customer. And that's where it comes from.
Yes, absolutely. So experience the experience by yourself. That
Yes.
is the the correct definition. Absolutely. And so you mentioned you've been out for 1 year now, doing your own thing for yourself. Um, what is this one very valuable lesson you've learned in this 1 year of doing what you're doing? Obviously, you love what you do, and that shows. But what is this one thing, if you have to pick, that you learned during this very busy year, I believe,
Yeah.
that you're out there and doing what you do?
I would say a couple things. One is the whole theory of betting on yourself.
Hmm.
I've not done that too well. I've been a mom first. I've been a employee. I am, so much of a connector to other people. And so it was the first year that I really figured out what is it that means to bet on myself, to take risks and chances on myself. And that's been a huge lesson for me over the year. The other thing is that when you do things that you love, it does not feel like work. And I want people to understand the importance of identifying your passions way before you know that you might need to do something with that. So, what I mean by that is in 2016, I started writing about doing customer experience right. When I was in my corporate roles, I was blogging. I didn't know if anyone would read it, and they did. And I didn't really have a purpose. I just wanted to keep talking to people about experiences and how to do it right. And then that turned into podcasting, and then it turned into speaking on stages everywhere and et cetera, et cetera. So, as you do your job, I encourage people to start those side passions because that's really what's fueled me this past year, that I already was known for what I love and care about. And anybody can do that.
I adore that, first of all, and I think that the way you framed it in terms of side passions, rather than just saying, like, the normal term is side hustles, I think that side passions wins every single time. Absolutely.
Yes.
So, Stacy, in your view, how critical are persona development and journey mapping in understanding and enhancing the CX? I mean, could you share like an instance where these tools made a tangible impact on a business strategy?
Yeah, they're essential. I mean, you're flying blind without it. It's like if you were going to drive to, well, in the United States, it would be another state. If you're in another country, it might be a different country. But imagine you were driving to some destination. You might get there without a GPS, without a map, but it might take probably a really long time to get there. If you do the right things in terms of using the journey mapping, which is a tool, if you understand who you're talking to versus everybody, and you put in the framework, you're going to get to the destination much quicker, more seamlessly, less frustrated. And so that's why it's really important to have that framework. So it's just shorter and easier. Personas are really another tool to help you understand who are you talking to and then be able to speak in their language. I've read thousands and thousands of customer surveys, whether they're surveys or focus groups, customer chat logs, contact forms that people write in, social media, all of these voice of customer channels. I've read thousands and thousands of them manually until the AI came. And there is one very common pain point above everything else, and that's communication. Communication is that breakdown is where customers are struggling. And it happens because, for good reasons, company silos. An example of that is you take in that customer journey again, where people are learning. I call it learn, buy, get, use, pay, and get help. Part of the journeys, get help, customer service. And if you think about the whole journey, Let's take the beginning where a customer will learn, become aware of let's say, an offer, special discount. So marketing puts that out into the marketplace. Well, a customer might receive it, they'll forget where they heard it. They'll call the 800 number or chat with a customer service rep and say, "Oh, I want that offer." Well, frequently the customer service agent never heard of the offer. They don't know what the customer's talking about. And so now the customer's getting frustrated because they got an offer and the agent can't honor it. And so everybody is frustrated. And oftentimes the customer will actually go to a competitor instead. And the worst part is you, the brand, don't even know it. So communication breakdowns is something that is a huge opportunity that I'm working with companies to help ensure the consistency happens, and it's in the brand's control.
I
That makes
can, I
sense to
can
you?
like,
Yeah.
yes, I can totally relate to that. And I was like holding myself until you're done. And I have to say, like, how on earth can you help brands, including ourselves, to get away from those silos? Because what you just described right now is a problem that occurs in 99.9% of the organizations I know.
Yes. So there's a lot of solutions. My favorite is bringing everybody together, all your key stakeholders, into a room. If it has to be virtual, that's okay. And I don't care if it's the back of a napkin. Literally walk in your customer's shoes and identify how do they currently today learn about your company, your products and services. How do they learn? Is it a trade show? Is it social media? Is it just a sales force? How do they learn? How do they buy what you're offering? Is it e-commerce? Is it a retail store? All these different ways that they can buy from you. And again, get set up, use, pay their bill, get help, and design that with all the teams together, which helps also the teams see where their job begins and ends, this domino effect, and that appreciation of how each one impacts the other. The game changer is once you design that experience and walk through the customer experience, you validate it with real customers. What you designed, is it actually how a customer wants to experience your brand? If you're giving them only an 800 number and they really don't want to talk to you, they just want to chat or text you, and you don't offer that, that's a problem. And so where I say is get the basics right of bring people like me in who can help you map out that experience, validate the experience, and then fix the pain points that are in your control. So much comes from that in breaking the silos, seeing the domino effects, and really addressing your customer needs.
Yeah, I love that example. And, it just made me wonder about these brands. We usually see a lot of big brands. I think it's also kind of industry related, especially in the aviation industry, that are just getting away with having not even an email. It's so hard to contact them. But then I don't understand. Does it not influence the brand experience? Does it not influence returning customers? Because I had some pretty bad experiences when I needed to email to, a flying company or whatever, and got a response 4 days later. Seriously, that is the type of CX that I deserve as a client. So I'm wondering in terms of like the CX as a whole, as an adventure, and as in a KPI, as a measurable KPI. Do you, from your work with different brands, do you see that changes from industry to an industry? Do you feel what I'm saying?
So, my answer is you're dealing with humans. At the end of the day, we are humans. And obviously, there's going to be an experience for the robots, but we're going to set that aside right now. So when you're talking about humans, it is not different. My framework is not different because there's humans at the end of the funnel and at the end of, everybody that we're talking to. A company is not a building or a logo. It's about people. So the framework doesn't change. What changes is the specifics of a product or service. If you're talking about a widget versus an elevator installation, is quite different, in terms of what the offer is. And so you have to segment and understand the needs of your buyer and of your employee who's delivering that experience. But overall, human empathy doesn't change, and the need for feedback doesn't change, and the constant testing, analyzing, adjusting, repeating principles don't change. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes, yes. No, no, I love that we talk about this. And I also want to touch on like measurements and KPI. So we all know that measurement is crucial in customer experience, and you obviously advocate going beyond NPS.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on the metrics and analytics that businesses should focus on to truly understand and improve their customer experience? Like, if there were to pick three or even five different metrics or KPIs for that matter that can really improve their customer experience, what do you think they should be looking at?
Well, I would focus on one in particular that's easy to implement and gives you so much data. And no pun intended about being easy, but I mean that. Like, how easy is it to do business with us? What's the level of difficulty to get the answers you need? So it's the effort score and the level of easiness or difficult across the different touch points when you're buying. How easy is it to buy from you? E-commerce. My gosh, people add to cart and then they drop off because they couldn't get further in that online funnel. The credit card was a problem. There's so many cases in that journey. You think about a cell phone. I was just talking about this where, and again, I came from telecom also. So I think about helping people switch from one phone to the next phone. So you go into the store and you need help to get set up for your new phone. Well, does the company just give you your phone and say, bye, thanks for being here, good luck? Or they help you actually transfer your data? Because that's not easy. So, do they go out of their way to make it easy for you? And so that's why I say easy or difficult on a scale across the customer journey. Do that, gauge that, and also ask why was it hard or easy and what level so that you can really go in and improve that experience.
Yes, I honestly I was expecting like an answer saying like the regular KPIs, but then you came up with this one thing, how easy it is for people to buy from you. And I was like, yes, yes, that's exactly it, you know? And I think that for a lot of brands, they just don't appreciate this particular aspect of how easy it is to buy off from them. Yes, absolutely. So, Stacy, drawing from your love for competitive backgammon or and your admiration for Simon Sinek's philosophies, can you share how the strategies or mindsets from these passions translates into winning moves in the CX arena?
Oh, I love that question. And I am such a fan of his. Starting with the why really stands out because you have to understand your purpose. For you to be able to deliver, for you to be able to give to others, you have to know why. And so, starting with the why to me is so relevant in being able to thrive in your workplace as a leader. personally wherever you go. I think that is just so important. It's not always what you do. It's not always how you do it. It's really why. And that's why people want to connect with you. It's why people can see, are you authentic or are you fake famous, which is a great HBO movie. Um, so to me, that stands out a lot. And then also, as I referenced before, the whole concept that when you do what you love and love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And he's all about that. And I'm living proof that it's true.
Yeah. No, I am also like, I used to listen a lot to some of his talks, and obviously the guy is brilliant, right? But I think that if we can, just like yourself in a way, right, can draw away whatever he says and kind of try to implement it within our own life or within our own environments, this is where the big change comes.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
totally. Stacy, I wanted to thank you so much for joining us today. For our listeners, if you want to have more insights or more golden nuggets about how to improve your CX, I urge you to look at Doing CX Right. Stacy's just doing an amazing job over there. Her podcasts, her website, and obviously her recent LinkedIn course, Increase Customer Loyalty by Doing Agent Experience Right, which is an amazing topic by itself. Visit her LinkedIn profile. And thank you very much for listening. Stacy, thank you immensely for joining us today.
Thank you. So glad to be here. Appreciate it.